What's up, everybody? It's your boy Jay back at you today. We're talking about some of this NFL quarterback carousel. What's going on with the Vikings quarterback situation? Will there be a Jordan Addison trade? And we'll probably hit on some other topics as well. Well, let's start the NFL right now with the quarterback carousel that's going around. So you hear a lot of talking heads talk about how this isn't a great quarterback class for the draft. I agree. You also have guys talking about, oh, there's not a lot of guys on the market this year. It depends on what teams are looking for, because we're probably going to see Kyler Murray get released. He's asked for his release, and him and Arizona are going to part ways. Geno Smith is probably out of there. The Raiders are going to have to move on. You can't bring in a rookie, keep Geno Smith after he looked horrible. That whole thing went bad. So the Raiders most likely going to release Geno Smith. You got Jimmy Garoppolo on the move. I hear the Packers heavy in on Jimmy Garoppolo. Derek Carr wants to come back out of retirement. Does he want to come back out of retirement for any team? Or is it team specific for Derek Carr? Because why would you want to come back out of retirement for, say, the Jets? Get your ass whooped all season. I don't think that's what Derek Carr is looking for. I think maybe he's looking more for like a team like the Vikings, or maybe he's putting his name out there so if somebody gets injured on a contender, he can move in. Aaron Rodgers is out on the market. Aaron Rodgers probably going back to the Steelers. Been some talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Vikings. I don't know if the Vikings will still go that route. It feels like that may have passed them by last season when Rodgers wanted to play there. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is out in Minnesota due to a lot of bad quarterback decisions from what the rumors are going around. Jeremiah Fowler said the same thing, that it had a lot to do with the Sam Darnold and the way he handled that situation. We know that Kwesi's been ass at drafting. He's been great in the free agent market, but he's been real ass at drafting. Now he's back with the 49ers and John Lynch. They said they'll define his role after the draft, because everybody's really focused on the draft. We're, about a week and a half, if that, a week away from free agency starting, then the draft, then everything kicks off, and we have that really slow time from the draft to preseason where there's not a whole lot of football to talk about, but it'll be summer, so at least we'll get to enjoy that. All right, so there is quarterbacks out there. There is going to be quarterbacks on the move. Tua is probably going to get released. So there is quarterbacks that could be the bridge, or maybe you see the Sam Darnold type resurrection of their career. We've seen it with Baker Mayfield, even though, if you watch the show, Maddie and I have argued that it was the Browns who fucked that up from the jump. We were screaming that before they signed Deshaun Watson. And Baker and the Browns would be a really good team right now if they wouldn't have fucked that up. But as the quarterbacks go, we're going to see a lot of movement. The Jets need a quarterback. What is Indy going to do? They might be trading Anthony Richardson. What do they do with Daniel Jones? We all know Daniel Jones' Achilles isn't going to be right throughout this whole season, probably looking at like a 2027 type move. Do the Chiefs do anything with their backup quarterback situation because of Patrick Mahomes? And then who's in on the big shiny toy this offseason? Malik Willis. Again, if you watch the show, been a Malik Willis fan when he was coming out of college, was upset that he ended up in Tennessee because I thought they were going to ruin him. He goes to Green Bay, sits with Matt LaFleur, and plays really well for the Packers, to the point where we have posed the question to you viewers in the past: should the Packers have kept kept Malik Willis and moved on from Jordan Love by trading him? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. So with Malik Willis being out there, being the big shiny toy that teams are going to go after, there's a few things. He's going to want that Sam Darnold $30 million a year contract, is the way it sounds. He's also not going to want to go sign with a team like the Jets, I'm assuming. Why would you want to go to an awful team unless it's just money? And I'm not mad at you when you're going for your first real contract in the NFL. You want to go get paid, set up you and your family for the rest of your life. So if you do that, I'm not mad at you. But do you make more in the long run if you take a little less and go to a contender. And I'm sure it wouldn't be a ton. I'm sure it's going to be competitive. Does that few million more to another team, is that what you want? Or do you want a contender where maybe you're investing in yourself for the long haul? You do a short 2-3 year contract, maybe in a 1 year prove it deal. I don't know. I think he'd want more security than a 1 year prove it deal. But you do 2-3 year contract, do that 3 year Sam Darnold $30 million plus a year contract. Are you good with that if you get to go to a contender? Well, here's the thing, and we'll get right into the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation with this. All the rumors out there and all the talking heads are bringing up every quarterback except for Malik Willis when they're talking about possible landing spots. I don't remember who it was that just came out, but it's all over the internet now too. You can go Google it. There is rumors, and yes, we are in the disinformation era right now. This is the time where everybody's lying. But there is rumors out there that the Vikings are done with J.J. McCarthy and want an exit strategy. Seems a little wild to me after him only playing 10 games. And I know everybody's like, oh, he's fragile. We did hear Kevin O'Connell say that if he wasn't essentially a rookie this last year, I know he wasn't, but because of the injury, essentially a rookie, he could have played through that injury and only missed a game or two, but they wanted him to be 100% healthy going in to have everything set up for him to succeed. So the first season, yeah, he nukes his knee, fluke injury. Second, it's an ankle, got rolled up on, twisted it, however it went down. He would have been back sooner, but they wanted him to heal completely, and they wanted to give Carson Wentz a chance to get him a few wins. Is that injury prone? Did the Vikings see enough where they're ready to move on from JJ? And if that's the case, did Kevin O'Connell pick JJ McCarthy, or was this a Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah pick, and that's why Kwesi's gone? You would think, because KOC is widely known as an offensive genius, quarterback friendly, quarterback guru, that he would have had a big say on who the Vikings drafted at quarterback. But if they're ready to move on this quick, it makes me question. And that's if they are really ready to move on this quick. Like I said, a lot of information out there that's not true. Teams leaking stuff to try to cover what they're really doing. We're never really going to see teams that dive deep into the first round draft pick they're going to pick if they're, say, picking eighth, because they don't want the people behind them to know. A lot of times you'll hear players go, I didn't even know they were going to draft me, never met with them, because they didn't want other teams to know that they were interested. They already knew who they wanted. They didn't want other teams to know they were interested so they could jump them and get the player. So is this disinformation? Is Minnesota not talking about Malik Willis at all because they are going to make a push for Malik Willis to replace J.J. McCarthy? Is that the plan moving forward? Is it Kyler Murray? They release Kyler Murray or Geno Smith. The Raiders and the Cardinals have to pick up that guaranteed money, which means that Kyler can sign for the league minimum because he's still going to get paid his contract from the Cardinals. And then that's a 1 year prove it deal, and see if you can get another contract after that moving forward. Same thing with Geno Smith. If they bring in Geno Smith, I don't think Geno's coming in to replace JJ. I don't even think that's a true competition. I think you bring somebody in case JJ's garbage or gets injured that can help try to steady the ship and save the season. If you bring in Kyler, is Kyler coming unless you tell him, like, bro, you're the starter? Like, is this somewhere he wants to be? Because Kyler has shown he's super accurate. He showed he's super talented. He was the first overall pick, but he has very inconsistent play. He bails the pocket too soon. He gets injured more often than you would like, being a smaller guy who's very athletic and runs a lot. Can somebody like KOC harness that, keep him in the pocket, only use your legs when you have to? Is Kyler Murray's height a problem? I know people say he can't see over the line. I always had this argument that if your linemen are standing completely straight up, you're fucked anyway. A lineman's always bent, anchoring, so he's shorter. Shouldn't be that big of a deal to see over the top of him. defensive linemen when they get their hands up. I get that, but it shouldn't be as big of a problem as people make it out to be. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'm always cool with people disagreeing with me. But if you bring in Kyler, doesn't he almost need some kind of guarantee that he's going to start and that it's not a true competition? You could bring in a guy like Tua, but if you're truly worried about JJ's injury history, is Tua the guy you want to bring in? I don't remember how many concussions Tua has had, but it's a lot. It's a lot to the point where Maddie and I have had the conversation last year or the season before, I don't remember. Should Tua retire to preserve his health moving forward, in his life, because there is a lot of life after the NFL. Tua, again, a talented guy, not a super crazy arm. Can Kevin O'Connell get the best out of that kind of guy? Yeah, probably. But are you willing to bank on him not getting injured? Are you going to give him a real shot to compete with JJ, or is this just another guy you want to bring in to back up JJ? Who the Vikings pick up at quarterback will say a lot about what they want to do with JJ McCarthy without telling us. And then I've seen these crazy, wild trade scenarios where people are like, Jordan Addison for Mac Jones and a second-round pick. Okay, slow down, Vikings fans. All right, Skull Nation, I'm going to talk straight to you. Mac Jones is an average quarterback. Good. Probably not the guy who's going to take you to the promised land, because he's been with the 49ers, who are always competing at the top of the NFL and going deep into the playoffs, always a Super Bowl contender. And he wasn't doing it there. Do I think Minnesota's offense is more talented? I do. But that doesn't mean that Kyle Shanahan isn't a genius, that they don't have a lot of talent. So I don't think Mac Jones is the guy who gets you to the promised land. So with that, are you willing to give up Jordan Addison? And why are people so quick to trade Jordan Addison right now? And yes, I know he had a third incident, but it got dropped for trespassing at a casino. Charges got dropped. Not completely sure what happened. The speeding, a lot of guys in the NFL have done that, so I get that. The dumb move was eating the edibles and passing out in your car on the on-ramp or whatever to the airport. Yeah, that was an issue. That was a problem. Does Jordan Addison have some decision-making issues? Yeah, right now. Is that due to just being young and not making the right decisions, little lack of maturity that people grow into? It really could be. And do you take somebody that talented and trade them? And why would you trade them while people are talking about all these off-season things or off-the-field things and the things that happen in the off-season? Because now it's going to lower the trade compensation. You're going to get less for a guy like Jordan Addison, who could be a number one on a ton of teams in the NFL. So what I say you do is you keep him for this year, you play it out, you still have that fifth year, you trade him after this year. If he balls out and the contract number are right, and you see growth and maturity, Vikings fans are not going to want to hear this. Maybe you think about trading Justin Jefferson. Maybe you trade Jets instead of Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison is 24 years old, will not turn 25 until January. Whereas Justin Jefferson is 26, but he'll be 27 in June. So you're talking a kid who's 24 to 27, the difference, that's 3 years. And if Jordan Addison is truly that number one, don't you think you can get more for Justin Jefferson in a trade? Isn't that something maybe you think about, because he's 27 years old, after this season, or in this season, going into the season. So after the season, he'll still be 27 years old. You can get a good trade package for him. And you're talking about a guy in Jordan Addison in seasons is 3 years younger, 2.5 years in circling the sun. But I think there's a lot to think about. And I think for you to trade Jordan Addison right now would be a mistake. I think whatever quarterback's out there, too, needs JJ, Justin Jefferson, Jettas, whatever you want to call it. It's confusing now with two JJs on the Vikings. But you got Jettas and you got Jordan Addison. That's one of the best 1-2s in the NFL, and it helps whichever quarterback, be it J.J. McCarthy, a Malik Willis, a Kyler Murray, Geno Smith. I don't even want to talk that into existence. Like, as a Vikings fan, I don't want nothing to do with Tua, and I want nothing to do with Geno Smith. So we'll see what happens there. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think's happening with the quarterback carousel? Where do you think these players will land? Do you think the Vikings should think about trading Jordan Addison? Who do you think the best quarterback to land in Minnesota should be? And what do you actually think the Minnesota Vikings will do? Give us your thoughts in the comment. All right, everybody, hit that like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Hit the notification button. We got 7 shows on the channel, so you don't want to miss any of them. And within the next day or two, Montana and David will be back with Well Beyond the Arc. Check that out. Every Wednesday, we have MMA Underground and Winging It. Just hit the notification button. You'll appreciate it. All right. One world, one love. Deuce.